Welcome back to our channel. We are the World Family Explorers, Chris, Ellie, Logan, and Connor. We left our life in the US behind for a world of adventures, and today we're giving you our top 10 tips after spending a month in Egypt. Join us as we share insights to make your Egyptian adventure unforgettable. Let's dive in. Welcome back to our channel. I'm Ellie.
And I'm Chris.
And today we have a little video about our experience in Egypt and some tips to help you with your trip to Egypt.
Yeah, Egypt was definitely one of the most amazing places that we visited as far as history, seeing all the ancient history and everything. We loved it, but it also had its challenges as well.
In fact, it was probably our toughest destination that we have ever been to. It was a lot of adjustment, but we are so glad that we went. And now we're going to share our top 10 tips to make your trip easier and smoother in Egypt. Haggling is everywhere, from the markets to the cabs. Everywhere you can go, you will haggle.
Yeah, so just as far as like a simple Uber is a lot easier to do than the taxis.
Yeah, so I would say at least that way you know what you're paying. It is upfront, so it's pretty simple. So if you are taking public transportation in Cairo, definitely go the Uber way. It's way easier than having to haggle and figure out what you're gonna pay. But everywhere else, whether you are going to markets or everything, you can pretty much haggle.
Yeah, so everything is very affordable in Egypt, so that is one of the positives and great things about it. So a taxi ride really isn't expensive, but you could be talking about, if you don't haggle, twice as much for one taxi than another.
And boat rides especially.
Yeah, and boat rides when we were in the Luxor part of our trip, then getting the boat across, like there could be a big difference if you didn't haggle.
Exactly, so make sure you always have cash on hand. Cash is king in Egypt. They love US dollars, but you can get Egyptian pounds out of the ATM.
Yeah, just be prepared to haggle in every situation.
Language. So English is very widely spoken in Egypt, but you will still experience some language barrier.
So yeah, obviously you can use some translation apps. Some menus even in some restaurants that we went to were all in Arabic, so I could use the Google Translate, so that was good. So I could use that to translate the menu and everything.
But most restaurants did have an English translated menu for the most part.
Yeah, in the more touristy area.
So one very useful phrase that we learned was la shukran. We used that more than anything.
No thank you.
No thank you.
Unfortunately, we had to use it a lot because there will be people that are trying to sell you a lot of things along the way in the markets and everything. So we just kindly, la shukran, no thank you, no thank you. So yeah, that's probably the most common phrase we used.
Which brings us to our next point. Expect pushy sellers.
Yeah. So that's one of the challenges that we had in Egypt is, we had been in other destinations in Europe where they're a little less pushy at the markets and everything. Like, of course, they'll be like, are you sure, or anything, but there were some times where it'd be like, they'd ask you like 5 times.
If you want to purchase something.
If you want to purchase something. It's like, after the second time, like, I'm pretty sure that I don't want to purchase that item. So yeah, that was a little hard, and I understand with their economic situation, their economy and stuff, of course, like, they want to make that sale, of course, but yeah, it did make us feel uncomfortable because you do want to buy things and you do want to help them out,
and you want to support the economy.
And us unfortunately, we're traveling full time. We don't have room for a lot of things, so we really weren't there to shop, but we still wanted to check out the amazing markets because everybody says, look at all the cool things you can see at the markets. But unfortunately, that experience got spoiled by, unfortunately, the pushy salesman. So you couldn't really like just go browsing. There wasn't like
unfortunately, I typically love to go to the local markets. I love seeing all the goods that they make, I just enjoy it. But there, it was like every step that I took, somebody was throwing something in my face, whether it was a scarf or a t-shirt or something. I couldn't even see what it was because it was just like right up at me, and it was continuous. So it just felt a little exhausting.
Yeah.
Next up is traffic. Traffic can be really chaotic, especially if you are in Cairo. Cairo is a huge city. It has 26 million people in it.
26 to 28 million Cairo and the surrounding area. So I would say, like,
don't drive.
I'm a good driver, but I would not rent a car. Yeah, don't rent a car in Egypt. It's very cheap anyway to get the Ubers or negotiate for a taxi like we were saying earlier. So just don't drive, let them take care of everything. They know where they're going, and you don't have to deal with the traffic. I mean, there's a lot of construction going on, very chaotic. So
a lot of honking and beeping, people cutting each other off. So it's kind of interesting actually to watch it, but I would not want to be driving in it.
I don't want to watch it from behind the wheel myself.
Exactly.
I'd rather just be a passenger.
And that also, whenever you are a pedestrian, especially in Cairo, just have your eyes peeled because you never know when cars are going to be coming at you.
They don't stop for pedestrians. So you just gotta risk your life every time that you cross the street. So be prepared for that.
But you know what though, the locals can be very, very kind there. I remember one instance in Cairo. I was crossing a really dangerous, basically like a highway.
The kids and I were staying on the other side, and we didn't want to cross with everyone. She was actually going to a hair appointment. She found a very good hair salon in New Cairo.
I sure did.
So she found them, but she had to cross the street to get to them because the taxi dropped us off on the wrong side.
And it was very intimidating. No cars were stopping. There was no light. There was a pedestrian, a crosswalk, but nobody of course was stopping on it. So a really kind man actually motioned me to walk with him and escorted me across the street.
That was nice that he did that.
Really, really, really sweet because I was really overwhelmed at that point. Next up, respect the local customs.
Yes, Egypt, it does have their customs and cultures, which you should respect. You're visiting their country. So, of course, watch how you're dressed and everything.
Absolutely.
As far as her, actually, this is one of the dresses that she wore in Egypt where she could cover her shoulders.
Cover your knees.
If she was wearing something else, she did have a covering that she would put over top, especially when you're visiting the temples and the religious places and everything. So, yeah, just be mindful of that. To make sure that you're respectfully dressed and everything whenever you're going to those places. Okay, next one up, the tap water isn't potable. A lot of locals do drink it, but they've built up kind of immunity over the years. So they even said that, they told us, the locals, when we got there, they're like, do not drink the tap water.
Now, you can brush your teeth with it, and we did not have any issues.
Yeah, some people are extra cautious, and they'll actually use bottled water to rinse their teeth, but we personally didn't have any issues with that. So that was fine. I mean, the water looked clean coming out of the tap, but you don't know exactly. And I think that they use a lot of chlorine in it to clean it, so that's why it's kind of over-chlorinated. That's why some of the visitors have trouble with the tap water. So just get that bottled water. It's really cheap there, just like everything in Egypt. That is one of the greatest things about it, is once you get there, affordability. I mean, it might be depending on where you live, it might be an expensive plane ride, but once you get there, everything is very affordable. So that was a great part about it.
Next tip, bathroom facilities. Make sure you bring your toilet paper.
A lot of times I would bring a backpack with me, and I always made sure that I had my essentials. So I would bring hand sanitizer, toilet paper, everything that you need, because don't expect those things to be at restaurants. So, and then they would have, the Muslim traditional bathrooms where it would not be a normal Western toilet. So it would just be the hole in the ground and a sprayer. So if that's not your style, then at least bring toilet paper.
It was quite the cultural adjustment for our children the first time they saw
They were not willing to go to the bathroom in those style of bathrooms. They would go number 1, but not number 2. They're I'll hold it. So that was fun. But obviously, it's a different culture, so you have to be prepared for that. Next segment is tipping.
Tipping is pretty much mandatory in Egypt. We usually tip between 10 and 20% to all of our tour guides, but you basically will be expected to tip in whether it's restaurants or anywhere.
Just remember, because everything's affordable in Egypt, when you're tipping 10 to 20%, it's not really that much.
It's really not. And everybody's very appreciative whenever you tip. So
you could tell when we tipped 20%, they were definitely happy. So 20% is definitely a great tip if you get good service, and like she said, that was for restaurants and for the tour guides, and that kept everyone happy. A lot of tour guides do remember, if they have a driver and a tour guide, they do want a separate tip too. So we made sure we tipped them separately as well.
Definitely. Now, one strange tipping experience that we had was actually in Luxor.
So in Luxor, we did go to the Hatshepsut. Sorry, I said it wrong. Sorry, Queen. Don't roll over in your grave.
I'm so sorry.
But anyway, they do have
temple.
additional temples and dig sites that you can see from that temple. So we're like, oh, we'll pay. It was only like 10 Egyptian pounds or something. Like,
it was very minimal.
Very minimal. So we said, sure, we'll see the extra sites. And nobody else was seeing those sites. So we went off. So we went off to the side, and there was like 6 of us, parents. Our kids weren't there that day. They were there at an Egyptian cultural school. So we went there, and they took us to a tomb that they actually had to unlock. So we felt a little uncomfortable about that. But we ended up going in the tomb anyway. And we had to crawl through holes and stuff, and like the more we did it, the more we were like, we probably shouldn't be doing this. Yeah, but it was exciting at the same time because I felt like Indiana Jones or something. like I was like, wow, I feel like a real explorer now. So at first it was exciting, but then they did some culturally strange things. Like we had to sit down in the dark and pray, and we were like, I don't know if this is normal or not. And then at the end, we were kind of in the middle of the tomb. And they were like, okay, they're like, please give me a tip. And I gave him a tip, and he's like, more? And I'm like, oh, okay, more. So he ended up emptying out my wallet, basically. So in that instance, I would say, have a second fake wallet.
With a little bit of money in it?
With a little bit of money in, and you could say, it's all I have, sir. I only have this money. So that's what I would do again if I had it to do over. I would have a second wallet with less money in it. And then if they really are demanding a big tip, then at least you can say, I gave you all I have, sorry. But yeah, they pretty much got us for a lot of tipping there.
A lot of tipping, heavily tipping to leave.
Yeah, and then another instance there is like at the Valley of the Kings. So the Valley of the Kings, you want to make sure that you buy all of your tickets up front. Okay, because we went in and then we realized there was one tomb that we really wanted to see, which was that Seti the First?
Yes.
That was our favorite tomb, by the way. If you look at our Luxor video that we did in another segment, we'll put it right up there, and the link right there. But that when we went to the Valley of the Kings, we really wanted to do that tomb. It was expensive.
It's very expensive.
Yeah, it was like 47 US it equaled, if I remember, per person. So that was like an amusement park just for that one thing. So that was one of the only really expensive things that we did in Egypt, that extra tomb. So anyway, we had to get it in advance. We didn't know that. So then when I went back to the ticket office, they have security, and they wouldn't let me back through to buy an extra ticket, which I thought was weird. So I had to actually give the guy a tip to let me back in line, and then I had to buy those tickets, which made it even more expensive. But it was worth it in the end. Like everybody said, it was worth paying the extra.
Right.
So definitely that was worth it.
Buy your tickets for all the tombs, Valley of the Kings up front, so you don't have to tip your way back.
And also, like when you're going into any of the tombs or any of the areas or the pyramids, we had to tip to get pictures up on the pyramids by yourself. Like they'll tip the guard for you, and that's another reason why it's good to have the guide. So you give that tip to get your pictures. Like it is a really tipping culture, like we were saying. So
cash is king.
Yeah, they'll pretty much let you do whatever you want if you give them an extra tip. They're very kind on that.
I will say that one experience where we had to tip our way out of the tomb in Hatshepsut temple, that was probably our most uncomfortable experience in Egypt. But overall, we actually felt very safe. Just at certain moments, we were uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, and that's a lot of people make videos about, is Egypt safe and everything. Like we personally never
felt.
Yeah, we felt haggled.
Yes, we felt at times
and everything.
A little tired.
Yeah, uncomfortable and tired of the haggling and everything. But as far as actual safety, besides that one incident, which ended up being fine in the end.
Totally fine.
But yeah, I basically, as long as you give a good tip, everybody's fine and everybody's happy.
Exactly. And our kids, we would never take our kids anywhere that we felt like it was unsafe. And everybody was actually extremely kind to our children.
And we actually live more like a local in Luxor.
Very much
so we even got off the beaten path of where a lot of tourists go. So we got to see where the locals were. And even in those locals areas, we felt really safe.
Really safe.
Okay, so another thing about Egypt is a lot of people want to go at it alone. Just get a good tour guide.
Now, you can certainly DIY certain things. For example, we didn't have a guide when we went to the Luxor temple, and that is fine. So at smaller sites, you don't need a guide. But at big attractions, at the pyramids is one thing you absolutely want a guide, because was very overwhelming if even queuing to get tickets seemed very chaotic.
Yeah, we did a guide with Karnak Temple. We did a group tour
that
there.
Was wonderful.
And he had so much information. Now, some places the guides actually aren't allowed to go in with you, like the Valley of the King. So it really wasn't beneficial to have a guide there because they're not allowed to go into the tombs with you and tell you about everything. Now, there are like kind of guards in there, but really they really don't tell you anything about them. So you kind of got to do your own research prior, which we wish we would have done a little bit more before we went to the tomb. So that's another tip, is do your research on each tomb that you decide to visit, and then be prepared so you can say like, oh, that I read about these hieroglyphics, now I've seen them in person. So that's one thing that I wish we would have done a little more before we visit them.
Yeah, but in general, if you're going to a big tourist attraction such as the pyramids, have a guide.
So the tour group we used was Emo Tours.
And they were fantastic.
We don't get any money from them. They were a great experience. So we would definitely recommend them, and we'll put the link in the description. So that's actually who we use for the pyramids, and we also use them as a driver, and we use them for Karnak Temple, and they had amazing guides for sure.
All right, we have one more tip for you, and that is the food. If you get an upset stomach, which you might, then go to the pharmacy and get some activated charcoal. Yeah,
so we were, obviously they have a wide variety of food. They have Western food, they have the chains, they have the McDonald's, everything. But, some of the local food, you're going to get from the street vendors or stuff, maybe could give you the
runs.
I wanted to say it nicer. I don't know. Anyway, could give you bathroom issues. So I am an example of that. So there was one time where we were just having some beans and bread and coffee, and then I had to excuse myself for the table. And luckily, we were just down the street from our house. Well, I had to run to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I barely made it to the house. So that was like. After that, I was a little cautious about the food.
The rest of us did not have any issues, but if you do have some issues, then go to the pharmacy and get yourself some activated charcoal. It will really help you.
That's what I use. So I use these, a local gave me these charcoal tablets. I took them, and then the next day, I was fine. There definitely is good food there that we had at some of the hotels and everything, that we had no issues. But yeah, you do have to be cautious on some of the street food. But that's every country with street food.
True.
All right, well that wraps it up for our quick tips on Egypt from our experience there. Now, don't let this discourage you. Some of the things might have sounded a little bit negative, but we just wanted to show the realities of Egypt, I mean, we went into it not really knowing everything about it, and you just know that you want to go for that wonderful history and everything, but there are some challenges that go along with it.
Now, we are very, very happy that we went to Egypt, and we are looking forward to going again in the future. I know you have some other stuff on your list.
The one thing that I didn't get to see was King Tut's gold and his mask. Now, they were making a new Grand Egyptian Museum in Cairo, so I'm looking forward to going back whenever that opens, which is actually, we're filming this right now in 2024. They said by the end of 2024, that they are going to have that open. So I want to return to see the rest of that and maybe do a cruise down the Nile, which we didn't do.
That would be really fun.
And then we wanted
and
we also wanted to go to the Red Sea, which we didn't do. So there's still a lot to do in Egypt that we haven't done. So, we're excited to go back. So hope this helped you all decide on, how to prepare for your trip to Egypt.
And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to put them down in the comments, and we'll be happy to answer.
All right, see you on the next video.
See you then.